So again, you have to understand that anything I'm going to tell you is amazing. I just increased my volume somehow. Hacking my computer or the system that I'm broadcasting through. But anything I tell you, they're going to say it means that I committed a crime or I'm admitting to a crime. That's one of their extortion triggers on people. Again, once you go through SEER training, if you understand what survival, escape, resistance, and evasion is, then you understand the tricks that they use. Again, they are enemies of the United States, foreign and domestic. If you study psychology, I'm not talking about some FBI agent who's going to use it for their own corrupt purpose. If you study psychology, both sides of it. If you study the FBI side, if you study the everyday clinical psychology side of it, you understand there's a limitation. And again, survival, escape, resistance, and evasion training. There's a limit of what everybody's psychology can withstand. And it involves metaphysics, physics, physical things, and psychological things. And it's more metaphysics than you really know. In other words, Satan is paying them for the destruction of a person's mind by destroying that person's mind. So there's only so much a person can do to resist a concerted psychological torture, psychological warfare, spycraft attack on their life into crime. And what you can't do is say, I'm the standard. Or you'll never get anywhere and understand it. Because if you're a person like that, they'll use you. They'll say, oh, we did it to you and you didn't become a criminal. But again, they didn't do it the same way, or you did become a criminal. Or you're stronger and that's just give the glory to God and let it be that. So again, it isn't only sex crimes, but that is the heinousness of it. There are children that have been raped and murdered because people in exploited children, missing and exploited children, psychologically operated their mind into it using spycraft and psychological torture. And it's a bit of a carrot and a stick. I mean, if you sexualize, your life will be better. This is what they're doing. This is what the Democrats are into. Some Republicans also. I don't know if it's true, but they say that we're getting rid of the Republicans that are part of it. And that's who you say leaving. Like, the inside's only so true. They're having trouble paying me my new rate of disability. They actually caught up from last month and then they missed it this month. So I have to call them. Right. It was weird. I was like, I need a new computer. And someone's like, buy it. You'll have money to buy it. I'm like, that's pretty tight. We need a new car soon. It's like, believe me, the thing, whatever it was, could have been like Bob Levinson in the spirit, as an angel around me. Somebody said, something said bigger. It could be Lautenberg, who knows? I don't know. Is Lautenberg actually bigger than Levinson? I don't think so. He was a pretty big cop. That's why they killed him. Right. And he wasn't deep state. Well, once upon a time, you could not be deep state and have a life. But I said, believe me, you'll have money to pay for it. So this is how you know the spiritual world is real, because I believed I would get 0% increase in my disability. I couldn't get anything. But what had happened over the last year, my hearing and my my breathing and all that stuff. It was actually there in 2013, but they lost all the paperwork. So I'm actually owed money back. It's weird because it could be a scam, because this is the only thing that probably wouldn't get me back pay. But maybe not. They may have reestablished my 2013 claim, because my lawyers, I haven't even talked to my lawyers. My lawyer said there's an outstanding claim from 2013 that they never acted on. You see, they're hacking the system. Right. But it all of a sudden showed up again. That's what screws them, stuff like that. So again, I have to get with my lawyers and say what happened. I've been out of the loop. They hit me pretty hard when I got here. There's a chance that I was drugged for a brief period of time. I believe I'm healing from that now. They do it. I mean, these are the narcos people. This is how the narcos took over the United States. Now, again, the way the deep state works is when they have to pay you and there's no way they cannot pay you, then they'll try to minimize that payment, which is what happened. There's no back pay, which would have been perfect. Not even that money, just like 20,000 or something. I'm not looking at a gift horse in the mouth. It's obvious I should have been paid what I'm being paid now since 2013, when you pulled that stuff out of my file and tried to hide the fact that there was an additional claim based upon the Persian Gulf. They found nothing at the VA hospital in Albuquerque. And then they harass you the whole time. You can't get anywhere. Again, I'm lucky to have this. I fully believe it's an act of God. I know somebody probably took care of it. Only because, again, they go, what do you mean somebody took care of it? It means because people are trying to kill it, somebody has to micromanage it to make sure it moves forward. Again, somebody's trying to kill it is the deep state, the narcos. It should have been granted in 2013. And then I wouldn't have had that life, because I could have got myself somewhere. Government owes me millions still. You have to understand that. And if you don't understand it, then you're a scammer and a grifter and a grafter. Right. Because that's their party line. I'll just tell you this to help you understand something. And again, I'm not one party or the other, but whoever's doing the most right, that's who I'm behind. Give the idea of an independent. The Bolsheviks took over Russia. But to take over Russia by the Bolsheviks only is a double cross. There were some other Shaviks. They actually were named Shaviks. They wrote them out. I'm telling you, that's what's happening right now. Be very careful supporting the Democratic Party. Biden burned you once. They'll do it again. Well, you have to push through. They sold the nation out to narcos. They destroyed the normal mechanisms of making money. In fact, the national debt is what they used to do it. They created the national debt to empower criminal enterprise. Those funds, the Minnesota thing, the California thing, I'm sure it's happening somewhere in Alabama. It's happening in every state, probably less so, but it's happening. I told you they were paying people with these government funds and government programs. And in fact, sometimes you're not getting rich. If you want to survive, if you got a family of 5 and you're a single mother and you want that money, you got to be who they say they want you to be, such as we saw in Santa Fe. You have the friends they tell you to have. You have zero friends if they tell you to have zero friends. They're narcissists. They're sociopaths. That's who politicians are. In a certain percentage, but a large percentage. They're not happy just to be wealthy and have great life. They want to rule you, Mr. No King's bullshit. Mrs. No King's bullshit. Right. Trump's the honest person, says, yeah, I'm a king. I tell you, I'm a king. I'm a king with no money, but that's because I'm not corrupt. What am I saying? Oops. If I was a devil, man, I'd be the richest man in government. I'd probably be president. If I would be a devil, I'd be president. So again, let's get back to the original part here. Oh, wait, this isn't counter obstruction operations. Let me get rid of that. Get rid of that in a second here. So the psychology is something they won't allow past a certain point. But clinical psychology says that if they do something to you repeatedly, you will become violent. I even tested it. Didn't become violent, but it looked like it was working. And watch what they did. They increased pressing the buttons. This is going to be the big payoff. The boss will give us minutes one. There's a certain number of mass shootings, which includes Pulse nightclub, that was caused by the deep state. Well, but we support. We're Democrats. We support gay people. No, they don't. They use you. They manipulate and use you. Now, the Republicans are stupid for totally writing gay people off. But that's going to be one of those mountains they're going to have to overcome in the midterms. But again, trusting Democrats. Because Democrats will oppress you secretly and then liberate, allegedly spending their time liberating while they oppress you. I mean, Lois Lerner was a vision of that, a fiscal appearance. She was about the most fascist person probably in government. They would have been at least admitted fascist. She believes that she was better than you, that she was enabled to be like a ruler. She essentially articulated being a ruler. And that you were just ignorant and needed her to guide you. And she was the one that was busted going after the Tea Party and IRS. Well, she was in IRS. But the idea is this. It revealed something bigger. The Democrats aren't with us. Like I tell you for years upon years. Well, I told you for years upon years. Yeah. They're fascists. For anybody to say that there is no Islamic takeover in the United States, it would be a lie. To say it's every Islamic person would be a lie. But again, see, I'm outside the talking point of the ultra radicals of each side. And that's where the deep state is. So again, they're engaged in activity that's going to cause sex crime, and they know it because they've done it and they get off on it. And they get paid for it. get to protect themselves from their crimes being discovered. Like I told you, the majority of people that are over the edge like that are hiding something. And that's how they're overcompensating. Look, I'm a victim of sex crimes. I don't overcompensate. I try to get to the truth of every single aspect of that. I've never been paid. People that abused me got away with it. I got to sit here all day, hear bullshit liar Democrats go Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. They tried to set me up while I was investigating sex crimes. In fact, the craziest thing that came up this morning again, people in this state also that screwed me over from corrupt law enforcement use my tips to actually make a name for themselves. It's every state I live in. They say they use your help, but then they try to kill you. It's insane. So it's groups of people that are sexualizing people. And it's not a test. They can start. That's where the basis is. Well, I'm going to test this guy's psychology and see if he's a child molester. But you look at what they're doing, they're like, no, you're causing it. I mean, you can't isolate somebody from a woman and say it's to test the person's sexuality. That's insane. Or from women, quote unquote. Anybody believe it is part of it. Isn't that easy? Just believe the lie. I'll give you. I guarantee it was Russians and other stuff, Ukrainians. Those were the first criminal organizations that took over federal law enforcement. And then the narcos came. They were narcos back then, but then the Mexicans came. I even told in Florida before it all happened, when Bondi was doing the film, I said, now you got to look at the border because that's where it's going to come from. In fact, I'd like put border patrol, Florida border patrol on the borders of Florida, so they can't get in. But again, they come in all different ways, including boats. Right. I recommended a Florida border patrol. That's about when they kill it. See, that's who it was. That's probably the pill millers. They got real sick in Florida, or they hire the PIs and they drug it, and then your body falls apart, or whatever it is. Right? Pretty much my body. I'm the healthiest guy in the world, believe me. And they kill me. Well, what did I tell you? God is with us. Yes, your God is with you. Satan is with all of you. Yes. Again, remember the last administration of Trump, the deep state, it was an investigative technique that worked. I got them to say that they were, and again, they came out with it. What comes out of it in the end, you have to understand how this works. They brag about being, yeah, we're the deep state and we're protecting people. You can't handle the truth of what it takes to protect people. We're special. My brother had already articulated this system to me years earlier. They made him believe it. And because he was so special, he was getting money over everyone else. As far as, not rich like Trump, but he was making stock market money and stuff like that. So they actually articulated it, and then they ran from it because I went, I got you. You just admitted to it. Right. The rest is bullshit. You're not saving anybody, any of you. Even if you're saving somebody, you sacrifice another 10,000 to save the one to make yourself look like a hero. All right, am I actually being heard here? Yeah, because I was in a different screen. I'm like, is my microphone on? So then when they do the deep state thing, they drug me. I believe my mother was drugged also. They go, Mr. Healthy thinks he's healthy. They start that shit. I mean, this is the type of people I work with. And they're no different today than they were back then. They spend millions of dollars making somebody unhealthy and go, oh, Mr. Healthy, how healthy are you now? As they laugh with the narcos and their cronies, the sex traffickers. So one of the things they tried to do was to psychologically operate the idea that, yeah, we may have sex or we may have narcos with us, but we're not sex traffickers and we're not pedophiles. This is really, really are in people's minds. Right. They don't try to use it on me anymore because it never did work. Right. We're the peaceful drug dealers. We're only killing other drug dealers. So what happens when they murder somebody? Then they're a drug dealer, right? That's all. You always probably a drug dealer. That's why they murdered. Next thing you find out, it was somebody who was aware of their crimes, but they didn't trust because they all live paranoid lives to begin with. Once they do that, talking about decades of psychological abuse of it at the level that you've never experienced. I guarantee that. There's even sexual abuse. The sexualization requires sexual abuse, but it's done similarly. You would do it in a kind of a Abu Ghraib, whatever, grave, whatever you call it. Right? Right. I mean, the first thing they do is isolate the victim. You can be married, be isolated, because they have an operation to do that. Take your wife away. In the mind. Take your family away in the mind. I already told you how they manipulated my children. I'm sure of it, 100%. But to my children's credit, even with that manipulation, when they came in and said, repressed memory, it didn't work. They had no repressed memory of such shit because we were a normal family. Right. So while they're peddling that bullshit, oh, he had sex with his kids, until they can make the next story up. So then they spend millions more hiring new people to come into my life to peddle some other bullshit. Right. To bring their kids around me in the store and then take a video of me looking at the kid walking up to me and looking at me, and I'm looking at the kid like, what the fuck are you doing here? Where's your fucking handler? Where's your piece of shit dyke handler that's having sex with you? Always some woman with the bait kick girl. Right. Always some woman that looks gay with a bait girl telling me that I'm doing something wrong. Of course, just setting me up, or trying to at least. That's their scam. So again, this is the type of thing you shouldn't have to fight. They're in here trying to muck it up. Because it's hard enough circumventing the wiles of the devil while pieces of shit making millions of dollars for entrapping men into sex crime and worse, using CIA methods, CIA technology, violating every law. Shouldn't have to fight that. Home of the brave, land of the free. We'll destroy you Democrats. You won't get one vote. I guarantee it by the time we're finished. But your cronies who you paid and stroked and put in the streets, they're last great Americans and brave former military and current law enforcement. You won't get one vote, you deep state pieces of shit. Stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.